Joe, we having fun?
I'm having a great time. I just want to say one thing is that we've actually had a Review Buzz, a membership with Mike's site for about a year now. I'll tell you what though, you wouldn't know it, would you? So whose fault is it that we don't get reviews online like we should when we have actually that service? It's my fault. And Mike, we're going to change that, okay? So I want to have the Review Buzz footer on our website so people can see that after this meeting. I'm holding you accountable now because I want that, okay? And then secondly, we're going to train our team. We're going to make sure everybody is going to be, when we talk to a contractor, we help a contractor. If we don't get paid, not every time, I'd say about 99% of the time we talk to a contractor, we don't get paid one dime when we talk to a contractor. But I think we should get paid with what we've done and the result we provide those people. And I'd like to make sure that those people know we'd like to get a review, good or bad. We're not asking for a great one. We're just asking for the truth, because the truth is always easy to remember. Right, Steve?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think everybody should have this. I can't believe everybody doesn't have it. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Steve, turn it back over to my man Steve here again. And thank you very much.
My pleasure. I'd like to do something a little interactive with me running around the room, but first I want to tell you a story. Because people learn from stories. True? True. When I was 16 years old, one Sunday afternoon, my friends invited me to go roller skating at the local roller skating rink. And I wasn't a roller skater, but that day I went with them, put on my skates. My friends knew how to skate. They were on the rink. I had my skates on, and I was holding on to the rail. Remember the rail at the roller skating rink for those of us who weren't that good? And there I was, being a dork, holding on to the rail. But being a cocky 16-year-old, I wanted to skate. So I got just a little bit of balance. I let go of the rail. I got on that rink, had some balance, and I started skating. And being that cocky 16-year-old, I was showing off to my friends, and I didn't even know how to stop or turn yet. And there I was, winging down that rink, and around the parameter of the rink were these barriers about this high. And I'm whizzing down the rink, I hit the barrier, flip over the other side, and the way I landed, I knew I had hurt my right arm badly. I had to go home. Went home, my friends helped me to get my skates off. I complained to my dad, and he said, okay, I'll take you to the emergency room. And after an x-ray, I was diagnosed with a broken arm. So Sunday night, I get home from the emergency room with this 90-degree cast on my right arm, from my hand all the way up to my shoulder. Walk into the house, and my mom is there, stern and courageous. My mom looks me in the eye, and she says, Stephen, go into the dining room, sit down, I'll be right there. I go into the dining room, I sit down with this 90-degree cast. My mom goes into the kitchen, has a pad and a pen. Mom sits down next to me. She says, Stephen, tomorrow's Monday. You're going to school, so you better start practicing to write with your left hand. Mom sits down next to me, and there I am trying to figure this out. And I was horrible at it. But Monday, I went to school, and I'm scribbling notes in my composition book. And Tuesday, getting better. By the end of that week, I was doing it. And that year, I wrote with my left hand for 4 months. Now, my mom, in her wise and courageous manner, knew that when I walked into the house, I was not a disabled teenager. She knew that I was a teenager with latent potential. Sat me down, made me do it. And I assure you that in this room, within each and every one of us, there is latent potential. Think about where our companies were 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Look at where they are now. But look at where they could be. Latency means unused. Folks, the question we need to ask ourselves is, are we wise enough and are we courageous enough to reach in, dig deep, and surface that latency? Put it to use. And when we can do something like that, we start to impress not only those around us, but we begin to impress ourselves. So Joe, what I'd like to do, I'd like to ask a few questions and run around the room to find out what people are going to be doing differently, to surface some of the latency that they can improve in their own company. So I'd like to have a volunteer for one individual. What is it you're going to do differently as a result of what you've experienced here during the last few days? Anyone? Yes.
I'm kind of shy and quiet, so I'll talk. One of the things I've been through Joe's total immersion, and what I realized by coming back here, that I'm missing the steps. I started out and did great, and then it's like a kick in the butt coming here to realize when you skip the steps, you're not going to accomplish what you need to do. So don't skip the steps.
Very good. What they teach anyone in process innovation is you have to have steps. There needs to be a sequence. And in ISO 9000 methodology, what they teach us is if you document what you do, you can do what you've documented. But you gotta follow the process. Very good. Hand up. Stand, please.
Oh. I was going to say, after this meeting here, I realized that because I've always been working on by myself for the last 15 years, that putting in Mike Cottle and well, throughout this meeting there was things brought up, and that is making sure you build that organizational chart and making sure you have the right people in the right places, and I'm going to start working on that and developing a business.
Thank you. Uh-oh, I bet this guy's going to be good. You better stand. And you better be good.
I'm just going to go back to my current customers in your industry, and I'm going to be more adamant about getting their CSR's photos. We send out a lot of marketing materials with CSR's names on them, but we don't include a lot of photos because they'll send us their salespeople photos, but not their CSR photos. And I'm thinking that can really make a big impact, especially with the amount of passion that people like Danielle give with their customers. So.
Nice. You got ink, right? Might as well turn the ink into people's faces.
And I'll bet the CSRs are a hell of a lot better looking than the salespeople too.
Anyone else? Uh-oh. I'm a little cautious about this.
Give me that. Listen, all I know is it was worth the flight to come out and see Kurt explain to me statistically up there how much money I'm leaving behind as I take for granted my customer base. So for 23 years, I'm making all these mistakes, and it's the number one thing I'm going to straighten out when I leave here. And numbers don't lie, and I think he's a straightforward, honest person, and he's going to help me tremendously. And I'm really grateful, Joe, that you brought this together for us. I can't wait to work with you.
Thank you.
That was good. Thank you. Anyone else? Ideas? What are you going to do differently? Those are the only people who are going to change. Everyone else must be the young lady. Stand.
We're going to do more procedures and that kind of thing, getting things in place and so things run more efficiently.
Get things documented. Don't you love that, Joe?
I love
more
it.
Procedures.
More process. The process
Yep.
you can provide, yeah.
Oops. Gentleman in the back.
And he is a gentleman too.
First, I want to say thank you to Joe and Julie and Colette and Jeff and all you guys for putting this thing on. It's been a great reminder of the things I learned at the Total Immersion. I think the biggest thing that we're going to do, Jamie and I, with our business is, after listening to Mike, I'm going to set out and draw out a clear plan of what changes we are going to make, and I want to implement a lot of the things that we've learned here over I want to look at our database. I have a database. I know it's, as Joe says, an embarrassment of riches, which we don't access, which we don't use. So I'm going to, first of all, set out a plan, draw it out, write it out, and then start working on it from there.
Thank you. Okay, stand up. This guy's going to be trouble.
I'm going to make more money. That's what I'm going to do because of here. Isn't that what it's all about? I'm going to have weekly training meetings. I'm going to have daily role play in the morning. My CSRs are all going to wear headsets. Definitely no holding the phone to their ear anymore. I'm going to hire a telemarketer, and I'm going to hold my technicians accountable, not only to doing 6 options, because that's the least amount, but I'm going to hold them accountable to knowing the people in the home, knowing the pets in the home, and knowing what the people really want. So every time they get in there, I'm going to have somebody asking them exactly, okay, what are the 4 questions? And they're going to have an answer for those 4 questions. So I'm going to make more money.
And I assure you, since Glenn is a man of action, those things will happen. Anyone else?
I think my biggest thing is just getting back into the focus of training. Training really what brings us into the future, and when we stop that, that's when I think the pain settles in, and can be very painful. So we got to make sure that our techs are, leading edge.
Cost of training is always less than the cost of ignorance. Other ideas? Action plans? Well, Joe, how about if I hand this back over to you and your team?
Well, thank you,
and you
Steve.
can close us out.
And again, I just want to give Steve Kasha another great round of applause for.
My pleasure.
Steve, I think this could be you could be a habit forming. You know that? I think I'm going to have to.
People think that we're brothers.
Could you put this in pen on your schedule for next year? Could you please? It's awesome.
It'd be my pleasure.
Stuff. What do you think of that?